Welcome to the Headley Highlight Show's Headley Headspaces. The Headspaces are a series of thoughts and musings I have during the course of the week, and I chew all over them, and I share them with you. And this week's first Headspace is called President Trump. Is he a hostage to his donors? When President Trump entered the Oval Office, at his inauguration, there were a line of individuals all around the president. The politicians were a little further back, but in the front row, there were the billionaire tech class that he surrounds himself with. While they were significant donors to Mr. Trump's campaign, he also received a significant amount of money from strong supporters of the Israel Project and the Greater Israel Project. He was hailed in the early days as the peacemaker, bringing the ceasefire to Gaza. There was even talk of a Nobel Prize. However, the donor class around Trump and all the promises he made to that donor class, as far as I can see, many of those are calling in their chips very early in the game. This is so evident with the choices that Mr. Trump has made in recent days in terms of who he wants to stand on the world stage next to. And enter stage left, Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, the symbol and embodiment of Israel's power, its capital power, and its political power. Here is a man who is a war criminal, who flew into American airspace and wasn't arrested, and is the first visitor that Mr. Trump welcomes to the Oval Office. That in itself speaks volumes, in my opinion. And then what does he do? Aside from announcing tariffs on everybody, China, Canada, Mexico, the European Union to follow, and possibly Britain, maybe not. He holds a press conference with Mr. Netanyahu, and he announces that he thinks it's a really good idea for all of the Palestinians, the ones that haven't been killed, at least 1.5 million of them, to move over to possibly Jordan and Egypt, so that America can take over the Gaza Strip and turn it into the Arabian Riviera. Now, when you listen to this suggestion, the first thing you're going to do is reach for the replay button to check whether or not you heard correctly. But when you do go back on the replay, you will hear that Mr. Trump, whilst entertaining Benjamin Netanyahu, the war criminal, announced that he wants to effectively buy Gaza, or America should own it. And the Palestinians need to just basically go somewhere else. This is an incredible suggestion. And so incredible because Mr. Trump appeared to be reading from a script while Mr. Netanyahu sat next to him smirking like a Cheshire cat. And this is the reason why I think that President Trump is in hock to the donors of his party. Why would such an outlandish suggestion even be entertained? Unless, of course, you really don't have as much control as you're suggesting that you have, because you can't not do it anyway. And this is part of the reason why I think Mr. Trump is being controlled by those people who donated to his party. The idea of moving the Palestinians, which effectively would be a second Nakba, ethnic cleansing, delivered for you on your For You page in real time, for most people is an abhorrent thought anyway. But not so for Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu. They spoke about it in such ordinary terms, to the extent where, when it was being discussed in this UK, people were referring to ethnic cleansing and the Nakba as a redeployment, an opportunity for development. Such is the propaganda machine, which support the idea of a greater Israel. This suggestion that was put forward by Mr. Trump was so incredible and so incredulous, and announced at a press briefing without speaking to Jordan and Egypt, who immediately put out statements saying, thank you, but we're not accepting any people into our borders currently, in my opinion, is an indication that Mr. Trump is not able to control his foreign policy agenda and is effectively being dragged into further conflict, which the American people didn't vote for. However, the donor class and the Zionists who support Mr. Trump did vote for that, and they put him in for that purpose. Hence, he's delivering. Why would Mr. Trump do this at this point? Who does it serve? It certainly doesn't serve the Palestinians to be removed from their homeland. Do you think they won't bomb the condos just because the American troops are there? Or Mr. Trump and some of his allies have built condos on their homeland? They won't be moved. That's the point. Israel has been trying this exercise for the last 80 years and failed. But I am of the opinion that Mr. Trump has been significantly captured by the Israel lobby. Do you agree with me? Do you think that this was a foreign policy initiative he invented whilst on the campaign trail? Or do you think this was a promise that he had to deliver on receipt of funds so that he could get into the Oval Office? Do you think that President Trump and those people who are advising him are suffering with poor information and corrupted information to the extent where they believe that this type of policy will go down well in all of those Arab countries who are bordering Palestine and Israel? Large influxes of people often have a destabilizing impact on people's economies, countries, and culture. Maybe the likes of Jordan, Israel, Saudi Arabia don't care for that and won't be pushed around by America. What do you think about that? So in summation to this particular, my very first headspace, I would say, based on recent events, I think President Trump has been captured by the donors who helped to put him in office. And I'm going to do another headspace a bit later about South Africa. And that relates also to Mr. Elon Musk, Starlink and its access to the South African market. But the point is the same. He's been captured by the donors of his party, Mr. Musk, and all of those tech billionaires being part of that. But we'll chew all over that momentarily. So in conclusion, do you think that President Trump has been captured by the donor class of his party and those who helped to put him in office? Give me your 2 pence, your 3 cities, or your declining dollar price. Don't forget you can catch it on the replay, and you can always go to DeniseHeadley.com. See you next week. Thanks for listening, and cut.